racks still kick ass. My friends, there's a small group of us out there that still know that some of this good rack gear out there is just amazing. The features, the sound, there's so many cool things about it. And today I want to tell you about kind of an unknown piece of rack gear called the Kurzweil Rumor. Let's discover why those racks still kick ass. Okay, my friends, I want to welcome you to St. Luminous. Hey, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and also tap that notification bell if you want to be notified the next time I put up a video here. Let's talk about this rack gear because obviously today it's all about pedals and plugins. And like I said, there's a few of us out there like Leon Todd and Michael Nielsen that are really starting to explore some of the rack gear. And today we've got over here, take a look, it's the Kurzweil Rumor. And so let me just tell you something, a little brief history about the Kurzweil Rumor in this case. See, Kurzweil is really well known for their synths, right? And that's how I know Kurzweil, about some kick-ass synths. And then somewhere around 2003, they released a beast of a unit called the KSP8, a 2-rack unit high unit that I would love to have. I'm going to try to score one. And then what they did was release 2 little child units. Shortly after the release of the KSP8, they released the Kurzweil Rumor and the Kurzweil Mangler. And both these units, what they did is they took some of the algorithms and presets from the KSP8 and they put them in these smaller units. The Rumour is a little more reverb heavy in terms of effects, so there's mostly reverb with a little bit of chorus and delays, flange, and unusual stuff. And then the Mangler had a little bit of reverb, but mostly different types of chorus and flange, delay, and unusual effects, distortion, and all sorts of other stuff. Now, I heard about the Rumour through message forums. I mean, every once in a while, people will come up and talk about their favorite reverbs, and you'd see a little bit about the Kurzweil Rumor, but I thought, why do I want something that's so synth-specific? But I went ahead and took the jump, and I got the Kurzweil Rumor, which it turns out is a pretty amazing unit. And by going through this, I also realized that there is a big problem amongst many musicians. This includes a lot of producers out there, people that have been in the business for decades, that they don't like, this lexicon, or they don't like that Kurzweil, whatever. And, probably what's happening is they're treating it like a preset box and just going through the presets until they somehow magically will find something they like. And if it's close, they just tweak a couple of parameters, not really going through to understand how the units actually work, because that's where the magic is, where these things come to life and you realize, holy crap, these things are powerful. All right, so let me go over the Kurzweil Rumor, because today it's all about the Kurzweil Rumor. You know about the history of the Kurzweil effects boxes. And so you can see it just has this small screen, although I think the size, as long as it's fairly close to you, is just fine. They did something interesting here. They put the banks and the presets here. They silkscreen printed it on the face. I was kind of used to seeing it here. But it turns out this is kind of cool because I can change the different banks of presets, the ambience, small rooms, large rooms. So you can see there's a lot of reverbs, more reverb. Then it gets to something called unusual, laser verbs, delays, chorus, flange, and then all the user banks. And then what you do is when you want to choose a preset, you use this knob and you can start going through the different presets under the ambience bank. And then to go ahead and edit them, you can use the select knob to go through the different parameters, and then the value knob will go ahead and change those parameters. All right, so why don't we dive in here and take a look at where the mistakes are made by so many guitar players and, like I said, even producers. If you treat this like a preset box, you're probably going to play with it for a while and then send it off and say, it doesn't work for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one algorithm on this, and I want to show you the power of something like this Kurzweil Rumor. So I'm going to go here to the delays. So all of these presets are going to be delays, and what I'm going to do is choose this one. It's called Big Hall Delay. So this is the preset, and I'm going to play it for you here in a second. But what I want to explain for those of you that don't know is what is an algorithm, what is a preset. So an algorithm is the big structure that's programmed by the engineers back at the factory. The algorithm is something that you can't edit. You can't change the way the algorithm is written. The preset is what happens when you take the different parameters that are available to you and you set this settings, like I want a long reverb, like a 5-second reverb decay or a half-second reverb decay, or I want a long delay or a short delay and the amount of feedback. Those would be all the parameters that you can save. The engineers only give you a certain amount of parameters available for you to tweak. They don't want to give you everything, or else it's going to be chaos or it might be confusion. So they limit the amount of parameters available to you. So remember, the algorithm is something that you can't change. You can't change the basic algorithm, but you can change some of the parameters. Okay, so with that in mind, here's a preset. The preset here is called Big Hall Delay. Again, written by the factory. They don't know what you're going to do with this. So I'm a guitar player. Did they test it with guitars when they designed the preset? I have no idea. The algorithm underneath this, you can't see it here, the algorithm is called laser delay reverb. And we're going to get into that, why it's called that. But that's the algorithm, okay? You could see it on the screen. Laser delay reverb, that's the algorithm. So now I'm going to play it. Let's listen to it. All right, so now you really got to hear it there. Personally, I think it's okay sounding. It sounds really big. It's usable, but for me personally, I don't find it very inspiring. So it doesn't do a whole lot for me. So what typically I've been guilty of doing this, and probably many of you have done this, is you say, well, it's okay. Let me see what else is on here. And you start going through different presets. Again, hoping for magic. Maybe even go in and change the banks. Oh, let me look at a flange. Let me look at a chorus. Not realizing how much power is behind this one algorithm here. So this is what we're going to do. Remember, this is called laser delay reverb. So I'm going to go ahead and tweak it and show you how I would go through this and design a simple delay setting for solos. All right, because I'm kind of distorted right now. Oh, one more thing when I go through this. How is my routing here? What it is I have an external mixer that you can't see on screen. And I've got my dry guitar sound going through the mixer, and then I'm using an auxiliary send to go into the Kurzweil and come out stereo, the Kurzweil. So that's why here it says 100% wet. If you're a pedal person, you know that is kill dry. So, so I have my dry sound and the sound of the effects coming together, mixed together. All right, so let me go through this. I want a delay sound for solos. So first of all, it's in this particular algorithm, it's based on tempo. So I'm going to have it based on, like, say, 80 beats per minute tempo, because I don't know what my system tempo is right now, and I don't want to mess with it right now. The delay time. So this is a stereo digital delay. And don't let this fool you, because a lot of you guys would say, well, it's a digital delay. I prefer analog, bucket brigade delays or tape delays. But again, don't let this fool you, because if you know what you're doing, you can get some killer sounds even from digital delay. All right. So what I want a quarter note. Oops. So in Kurzweil terms, there's your quarter note, one beat. Simple enough. Now, as far as feedback, and also remember, look, it's delay time on the left channel. So I want it to be a quarter note, and the feedback, that's a little much for me, so I'm choosing 30%. I'll have to play with this to find out the exact feedback that works for me. And now the right side, way too long, 2 beats. So I'm going to do a dotted eighth note. People like Andy Timmons and some others, I think even Gilmore has played with this some more, a stereo delay or a dual delay with a quarter note and a dotted eighth. So in Kurzweil terms, that's 18 out of 24 beats. For some reason, Kurzweil decided to take a beat and divide it up into 24 parts, and that's how you can choose this. There are some algorithms where they do it in milliseconds, but in this case, we'll deal with the beats. And I think about 40%. Now, what I got to do also is bring up the amount of delay. So 100% delay, and I'm going to tweak some of these other things here that right now you don't know what they mean. We haven't discussed this yet, but I'm going to make sure I get just delay. I don't want any of that reverb in there right now. Let me make sure. Okay, so I have just the delay, and you can hear it, the quarter note, dotted eighth note thing. Okay, and if you have headphones or you listen through stereo speakers, you can hear it, the delays. Nice stereo delay. So now I'm going to play it, and you'll hear from that really big wash of sound from the preset, now I've got just delay. Okay, so automatically it's getting there. It's a little much for me. It's going to get in the way of my playing because the delay is so loud. So what I have to do is I got to turn down the level of this preset. I can either go to my external mixer to do it, which is normally what I do, but I can also do it over here. So this way you can see a visual of me turning it down. I'm going to go really heavy. Like I'm going to take 9 dB off. Let's see if this works. Okay, that works. I would do some more tweaking for the feedback to get it just right for, the way I like to play it. But you heard it there. So now I got it to where it's starting to inspire, gives me a little space, gives me a little stereo width. It's a good start. I mean, I could totally play it. But let's do something else different here, because remember, this is just a regular digital delay. Let's give a little slapback digital delay, which is very, rockabilly kind of sound. So I'm going to go back over here to my delay time, and I'm going to choose something small, like say 4 out of 24 beats. No feedback. I'm going to do this one the same because I don't want a stereo slapback. If I set the 2 delay times to be the same, it should sound a little more mono. And again, the feedback down to here. And just to get ready, I'm going to go back up here to change the outputs, just in case I need more of that delay. So this should give me a slapback kind of a sound. Okay, actually, that's not bad. I don't really need to adjust more. So I got kind of a slapback or very short slapback to give me that kind of rockabilly sound. I can certainly make it a little bit longer and do it to taste. You could also play with the settings here to get more of a kind of an edge sound, because the edge has the dotted eighth notes delay where he can play eighth notes, but it sounds like a steady stream of 16th notes. A very cool sound. You can obviously do this. So right now you can see it's a very simple digital delay. And you may even say, yeah, but it sounds so digital delay. And I would agree. I'm showing you just the simple parts. you can set up a whole bunch of things here. And I can tell you, before I get too deep into this thing, I just want you to see how it's a simple digital delay. And there are guys who could do a whole gig just with this. They don't even need the reverb part because they can have the long delays to play a solo. Some other parts, they've got a slapback delay on here. And then if they want, they can set that kind of edge 16th note delay thing going on. And then there's a switch between those delay sounds using MIDI control change commands, not program change. They don't need to save all these presets. Instead, they just change all the delay times and the feedback. They can do it with a good MIDI controller and sending all these MIDI control changes, and automatically they've got all these changes, and they only have one setting. They don't need to change all this other, do all these program changes, have 3 different presets. You just need one preset. So pretty smart way to work. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the sound a little bit on these delays. Check it out. See, because I skipped past this. I'm going to go back to my big solo sound. So the quarter note, watch how I change the sound here. Okay, about, there. And this was going to be the dotted 8th note and say, maybe I'm going to go a little less. Say there. Now watch this. Watch this. Look at this. There's a filter in the feedback loop of these delays. So every time the delay repeats through the feedback loop, I can filter it off even more. Kind of get a analog delay, bucket brigade delay sound. I'm kind of going to try to get closer, or even a tape delay sound without the warble, but the EQ effect of the sound degrading on each repeat. So you can see it has a high frequency damp and a low frequency damp, and these are basically 6 dB per octave, 1 pole filters, which we won't get into. Point is, I'm going to cut off the high end, and I'm going to go pretty aggressive here, somewhere around here. So I'm going to set a filter to cut off the high end, and now I'm going to set a filter to cut off the low end on each repeat. I'm just going to go right around there. I'm kind of guessing I'd have to play with it more. Okay, so now I'm going to play my big solo part again. And because the repeats are going to be filtered off, the high end and the low end are going to be filtered off, the repeats should tuck in a little bit better into my solo. Let's listen. Yeah, listen to those repeats, how they get more filtered. So they all, because I'm getting rid of the low end and the high end, they have just a cool vibe, right? It doesn't sound so digital delay anymore. So I think that's something really neat about these kind of rack processors, when they give you that EQ to kind of sculpt the tone you want. You're not stuck with a certain tone. You get the basic digital delay, and then you can sculpt it from there into a sound you like. Then this does something so cool. Here is where the real magic happens. This is trippy. If I go all the way to the end, there is this parameter here called delay feedback image, not Facebook image, but feedback image. So according to Kurzweil, what happens is as I turn this up, it's supposed to shift the image in the stereo image of the delays to the left or the right. I found that doesn't actually happen so well. But what does happen is as I turn this up, say 100%, then I don't get the shifting of the image. Instead, something else is happening. It's there's like a cross feedback thing going on, and then what happens is the delays, as they go down in volume, they sort of transform into an ambience. So let's listen to this. Now I have the feedback image turned up all the way. Let's listen to what happens with these delay repeats. Yeah, very, very subtle, and I might have to bring it up. In fact, Now I would bring up my delay level a little bit more because things are going into ambience and I have the delays are filtered a little bit. So now I can actually bring it up a little bit more in volume. All right, so that's just the start of it. So let's move on to the reverb. Because remember, this is laser delay reverb, and we're going to get into the laser delay. But let me go on to the verb. Let me move on, and I'm going to just keep those delay settings because I'm going to get rid of them. And so now I'm not going to have any delay. I just want to hear the reverb, and okay, I'll keep that. And this. I'm going to set this to 100%. Again, we'll talk about this in a little bit. And reverb up 100%. So now, let's hear it. I should have just reverb. There's still some delay in there. Although I do hear the reverb. Is it this? There we go. Okay, so now it's just reverb. So let me play it a little bit, and you can hear just the reverb on this. Okay, so no delays, just the reverb, and it's not bad, but I can fortunately change all this. I might even bring the reverb up a little because it seems a little low to me. So I'm going to bring it up about 3 dB. And so you can see I can change the decay time, 4.5 seconds. I like that it's kind of a big space. And, I can get rid of some of that high-frequency damping. This is fantastic, you guys, especially if you're guitar players, because when we play, we have that high-end transient, that attack. And on bad reverbs, that's murder on bad reverbs because bad reverbs can't deal with that big transient, so it just makes the reverb sound like ass. Here, this is one way to do it, this high-frequency damping, so that high-pitched transient attack can kind of get squelched a little bit in the reverb tail. So that's nice, and besides, I like my reverbs a little dark. And I do have a whole bunch of reverbs to try. Here's the Hall 1, Hall 2, Hall 3, Hall 4, a large space, booths, a room, chamber, plates. Let's try one of the room settings so it sounds like, the reverb will sound like I'm in a room. I have to change the reverb time to something small. So in a room, less than a second. So let's hear this reverb now. From a big hall, now we're going to play in a room. Okay, I can kind of hear it. Let me turn up because it's down. So let me just go to 0. Okay, so now you got something that is more of a room sound, like you're playing in a space. Great for headphones. If you have to do a lot of processing with headphones, when you have something that sounds like a room that you can add to the reverb, that's kind of useful, in my opinion, because I don't like a dry sound in headphones. It would drive me nuts. It just doesn't sound right. So I'm going to go back to the hall just because it's such a fun sound. And that's what it's about, having a little bit of fun with these things. And I'm going to go back to the 4.5 second reverb. There's a whole bunch of other things. It does have pre-delay on the left and the right inputs. Real quick with the pre-delay, for you guys that don't know, a pre-delay is just that. It's the delay before the onset of the reverb. And for those of you who don't know, you might ask, well, why would you want to do that? Because reverb tends to make things sound like they're very far away. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But also remember, the stuff you're playing is in the reverb tail. So if you have a very short pre-delay, like the onset of the reverb is very quick, it happens almost immediately, then when you're playing very busy stuff, busy stuff like that is hell on a reverb. Maybe you've experienced that, like you just can't vibe with the reverb because you're playing all this stuff. and it starts to get in the way. So one way to do that is you give a very long pre-delay. So while you're playing busy stuff, the reverb for that stuff hasn't come up yet. So this is a way to play busy material but still have a cool reverb. You gotta have pre-delay. So there's the advice too. If you're going to do a reverb pedal, find one with pre-delay so you can give some space between your playing and the onset of the reverb. Now, I will just quickly say that Kurzweil, according to Kurzweil, the reason why they have separate pre-delay of the left and right is because according to Kurzweil, it adds more stereo-ness to the reverb. I played with it a little bit, and yeah, there is. It's a little subtle, but something kind of fun. I don't worry about it too much, but fine, it's there. That's kind of fun. It's unusual. I will say that is very unusual. And the rest of these parameters, diffusion scale, size scale, density, I'm not really going to get into those. Maybe in another video. It's so technical, this stuff about reverb. I just want you to see reverb pre-delay, the decay size, and the room type. We're just going to deal with that. And, okay, we haven't gotten to those. So now what I'm going to do, but I want you to see rooms, chambers, halls. Now what I'm going to do is have both of these effects at the same time, the delay and the reverb at the same time. This is where the Kurzweil just kicks ass. It allows me to put the delay and reverb in series, or I can put them in parallel, or I can put them in series and parallel. You guys, honestly, I have not run into a piece of rack gear that allows you to route two different effects that way. If you know of it, let me know. The only exception is the Eventide 2 rack units, the big Eventides. Those have algorithms where you can route, you can have choices on how you route two different effects. That you can do, but but besides that, I really don't know. I don't know any effect box, not even pedals. I don't know any that allow you to give three different choices with how you route two different effects. That is really unusual. And to route things in series and parallel, yeah. I mean, let me put it to you this way. It's to get this kind of control to this, that's impossible to do with pedals without a very special device like the Sound Sculpture 8F. That would allow you to take two pedals. You'll have to use the kill drive function on them, and then you can go ahead and put two pedals in series and parallel together. So you guys, yeah, let me go ahead and set this up for series and parallel. So to do the series and parallel, I go over here. Now we're going to talk about this weird looking thing here, this parameter. It took me a little while to grasp this, to see what is going on here. But once I did, I said, holy shit. The Kurzweil just solved a problem that I always had with rack gear and pedals, that I always have to use a big mixing board to not only split two different effects in parallel, but to feed one into the other at the same time. So to have series and parallel. I would always do this with a mixing board. In this case, the unit does it. Check it out. A, you see these letters A and B. That represents the effects. See, look at this. A to B configuration. I can put the delay into the reverb. And check out, look at this power. I can switch it. I can put reverb into delay or delay into reverb. Also, very, very, very unusual. You don't see this too often to have that kind of flexibility. But I have it like this. Effect A is the delay, effect B is reverb. So delay into reverb. This makes it easy. A, that's still delay. B is the reverb. So what this is saying is it wants to give me a percentage of the delay and my dry signal being fed into B. So what I want to do is what I want feeding my reverb is 50% delay, 50% of my dry signal. So to get that done, I'm going to set it at 50%. So now I've got, so the signal going into the reverb, half of it is delay, half of it is my dry signal. Okay, so essentially this is series and parallel at the same time, because look, delay is feeding the reverb, which is in series, but my dry signal is also coming in and feeding the reverb at the same time. And remember, I've got the external dry signal coming out. Whoops, I'm dropping cables here, guys. So, we'll talk about this probably another video, difference between series, parallel, and the ultra cool series and parallel. So let me just play it. So delay and reverb in series and parallel at the same time. I just realized something too. I need to bring up my delay level, although that was kind of a cool sound. But I need to bring up my delay. So 100%. So I'm controlling my reverb and delay levels, just like I would control two faders for reverb and delay. So I've got them at 100%. Now, let's try it again. Oh yeah, now I can hear the delay in there. Okay, massive sound, but way too much. It's literally drowning my dry guitar. So what I'm going to do is going to cut back on the delay, bring the delay level down. That is way too much delay. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the reverb level down a little bit. So say around 70%. So again, we're still in series and parallel, but I got to bring the levels down a little bit because that was just too much for me anyway. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, still not bad. Still a little much. Maybe if I bring down the reverb a little more. Let me try this, and then we'll move on. Yeah, very cool. That is very usable for me. I would still do some tweaking with delay feedback, but you notice as I dial these things in, there's no magic parameter. I change one thing, I got to change the other. I made it series and parallel. Well, I had to bring the delays down. I had to bring the reverb down and that sort of thing. Now, here's another feature of this Kurzweil Rumor that is nuts. You'll see right here, EQ, this EQ button. The EQ button, this is an input EQ. So before my signal even goes into this effect, I can EQ it. Again, that is really unusual. And except for big eventide units, I don't know any pedal or any rack processor that allows you to EQ your input going into the effect. And that is kind of cool because now, again, you're able to carve out a tone for something you would like, right? Because tape delays, for example, with the preamp, those weren't digital units. So you had a little bit of shaving off of the high end and maybe even a little shaving off of the low end. So you have a little more mid-range focused sound. And I can do this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you two uses for it. I'm going to take the sound I have that I like and I'm going to EQ it. Hopefully I didn't have the EQ in. Oh, yeah, there we go. All right. So what I want to do is I want to shave off the high end, shave off the low end, and just keep the mid-range the same. So here we go. I think this is a shelf EQ. So I'm going to shave off quite a bit of low end. I really want a more mid-rangey sound. So I'm going to turn the gain all the way down. The mid-range, I don't want to do anything to it. And then the treble, again, I want to shave off all that treble somewhere around 2,500 hertz. And here is where I go ahead and turn the EQ on. So I'm going to play really quick, a little phrase without the EQ. And then we're going to play it with the EQ. Okay, so now I'm going to send. Now it's going to be EQ'd, same riff. Oh yeah, it's a little subtle, but it's a little darker, and to me, it just comes in and kind of embraces my soul a little bit more. It just tucks in even more. And this, like I said, this is so unusual. Another use for this, too, is for reverb. Because remember, this is a general purpose reverb. It is not a reverb that is specifically made for guitar or for synth. It's just general purpose. And I discovered a couple years ago a hidden secret with digital reverb. All these professional engineers and whatnot, they EQ the reverb sends. I've seen it again and again. EQ your reverb sends to really get that, to carve out a reverb that will really work for your mix. You're going to have to tweak it a little bit, but it's always pretty much the same. Shave off the high end, shave off the low end, keep a little bit of the mid-range, and sometimes you might want to bring up a little bit of the mid-range somewhere in there, around 1, maybe 2 kilohertz, something like that. And it works. It works because I can get the reverb that just sounds okay, or it's a little too much, just not working for me. I bet if you EQ that reverb before it goes in, I bet you might find that reverb tuck in just right and just slay. So this is amazing that you can do this. I have to admit. So you guys, I wanted you to see this. There's still some more things here that are just insane when it comes to this Kurzweil Rumor. But I want you to see the power. If you really dig in, you find out, well, I could just have a delay and I can carve out almost any kind of delay I want. It doesn't do any modulation, okay? So that it won't do a modulating delay. Fine. I don't need anything super fancy just for me to get up and play. But you can EQ the repeats. You can EQ the input of your delay to carve out the delay tone you want. Or if you just want reverb, again, you can carve out the kind of reverb you want. You have an input EQ to kind of develop a certain tone that you want for your reverb. And then on top of all that, you get to set up how the delay and the reverb are routed together. You can route them series, delay into reverb, delay and reverb at the same time in parallel. Or you could do it in series and parallel. They're parallel, but you take the delay and you feed it into the reverb at the same time. Super powerful stuff. So now let's get to the really weird shit. The laser delay. Why is this called laser delay? All right, let's talk about that. So what I'm going to do to really show it off, I got to turn the EQ off. And I'm going to turn off the reverb because I want you to hear this laser delay. And I think this is just all reverb, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so there's my reverb, and I'm going to bring the reverb up so you can really hear this. And I don't want to filter it because, again, the filtering affects the delay repeats. I'm going to do this because I really want you to hear the effect. If I was designing something here, I might play with the filter here. But for now, I want to leave it wide open, the filter, so you can hear this laser delay. All right, let me see. Okay, yeah, big and wide, you'll hear it. Okay, so here we go. Check this out. Laser contour, so I can tweak the left, the contour, the space, same with the right. Now, what these actually mean, the laser contour and laser space, I got to tell you, I was reading the manual, and it's still kind of a mystery to me. It's just, it's weird. It is really weird, but the sound is fascinating. Here's what I gathered, is that if I turn it way up, the laser contour, the feedback should go on for a long time, so you should really hear these repeats go on for a while. So I'm going to turn it way up. This, from what I gather, it just carves out a certain tonality, a certain resonance seems to happen with the laser space. Again, I don't know 100% what's going on. So in this case, you kind of just tweak it to get a sound you want. So here it is. I've got this laser delay. Check this out. Yeah. You hear that on one side? It's EQ'd, but it's also shifting in space. Really just weird. Let me go ahead and play like a little chord, like say a B minor chord. Yeah, you hear that? You hear the repeats keep changing. Their timbre and just keeps changing. Their texture is really something. And I've never heard an effect like this. Maybe the big Eventide units will do it, but this is really just different, you know? That was a little soft. One more. Yeah. Really just fun stuff. I haven't found a good use for this other than a fun special effect. But in my music for solos or anything, I can't think of a good use for this. What I can say is it's super fun, and you can tweak the contour and the space to get different sounds. I think it's super fun. Maybe not useful, but it is super fun. All right, you guys. So, and I do have one last secret effect here, which you probably didn't notice while I was scrolling through, because it doesn't appear. You really got to read the instruction manual to find this, or you might happen on it by accident. So before I show you the last secret effect, it has to do with reverb. In fact, let me go ahead and bring the reverb up and get rid of the delay, because this is a reverb effect that is hidden in here. And again, you wouldn't know it unless you read the manual or just accidentally stumble upon it. Okay, so I need, and I think 0% will just give me the, yeah. Okay, there's the delay. All right. So before I show you that effect, I want to remind you guys to go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Please check out my other videos. Hit that notification bell so you will know the next time I release a video. And I want to thank you guys for sticking out with, hanging out with me this long and sticking through this long video about the amazing Kurzweil Rumor, and I hope you see why racks still kick ass. So I'm going to leave you guys with the secret effect over here on the Kurzweil Rumor.